Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about DSLR versus mirrorless kind of as a part 2. In my last video I said what the message was supposed to be is that you got to compare systems of any type, apples to apples, and from there you see where the differences arise. In this video I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into the dichotomy. So what are the most notable differences between DSLR and mirrorless? Size and weight is frequently quoted. AF, autofocus performance, EVF versus OVF, and the available lens selection. But here's a great point to digress, because I'm not trying to push switching on you. I'm not trying to push one option or another. I'm just going to be sharing my preferences with you. But there was recently a website that I stumbled upon. A guy who keeps it up is by the name of Tom, T-H-O-M. And he had some really excellent language around switching. Some language that I thought was really worth some time. Now, like I said a minute ago, I'm not trying to advocate switching. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm not trying to say what you have is bad or wrong, or you shouldn't like what you do, or you shouldn't have the preferences that you do. I absolutely want to respect your preferences and what you like to shoot with and on and how you like to shoot. I'll just be sharing my own preferences as well as the definitions to the terms that he's laid out. His terms were sampling, leaking, and then ending in switching. Sampling is when you buy a product from a competitor against the brand that you mostly currently own, just to try it out. I did this with my Alpha 6300, notably. I wanted to try out 4K, 120p. I needed AFC. I really believed in Sony's vision. The price wasn't awful, and despite my bias for full frame, I would be mostly shooting video on it, like I am right now. So the APS-C wouldn't be a huge deal. The 30mm that I got on there now, 50 equivalent, so that's kind of what I mostly shoot with anyway. So the APS-C didn't matter so much. My preference, because I'm a dinosaur, will always be full frame or medium format. But using the Alpha 6300 extensively over the past year has shown me that modern APS-C sensors are in 99% of cases, perhaps. For me, I do a lot of portraits and kind of street style photography and just taking my camera everywhere with me. APS-C, modern APS-C sensors are good for 99% of everything. Full frame isn't necessary like it has been in the past. Leaking is buying up within that second brand, within that competitor's brand, starting to build out a system, buying a couple lenses, stuff like that. That's the stage that I'm at right now. I'm looking seriously at Sony full frame options, at Fuji APS-C and medium format. Yes, I want all three. No, it probably won't all be able to happen. But, you know, the ergonomics of both the Fuji and Sony systems are perfect for me. I was until recently quite sure that I wanted to also build out my Sony APS-C system that I've started to develop by adding on the second lens. But my mind kind of changed with that because of those perfect for me ergonomics of Fuji's APS-C system, as well as their 2.8 zooms, and the perfect for me ergonomics of the A7 II series cameras, as well as the A9. I expect that same body design will show up in the A7 III series. So I'm really convinced that that's the way that I want to go. And switching is when one sells their now old kit or brand for a competitor's offerings. I personally don't think I'll ever really get to a switching point because there's too much emotional attachment to the devices that I already have. I bought back from one of my buddies my Rebel XS that I'd sold to him for a song, because I don't know if you can see, but I have pictures hanging on my walls that I've taken predominantly with my Canon systems, and it's so cool to be able to say that was taken on that camera. I would like to be able to keep like my 24 to 105, 50, 85, as well as my 60 and my XS and stuff like that. I'd be very willing to sell my 70 to 200 f4 LIS USM, as well as my Sigma 50 to 100 f1.8. because they have, in my opinion, better native mount offerings for the systems that I'm going after, namely the Sony 70 to 200 f4 OSS and the Fuji 50 to 140 weather-resistant OIS lens. But for the meantime, I'm actually having a ton of fun using my 50 to 100 on my 6D at 100mm it's yielding like some of the coolest pictures that I've taken in a while. And I don't, they're probably only good for Instagram, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's just kind of a wacky combo, but I'm really enjoying it. But to get back to the whole point, in terms of size and weight, it's pretty well established that if you want to go full frame, you're gonna have to keep a nearly equivalent size and weight comparison to DSLR. You're not really gaining, or rather losing, you're not losing weight or gaining mobility, I guess, by transitioning from full frame to full frame. You would, however, going to APS-C, which is great. For me, the ergonomics, the fit in my hand of the A7 II series and the A9 is just so perfect. I'm totally okay with not changing the weight aspect. I'd also want to be getting into more 2.8 options than I have currently and stuff like that. So I definitely wouldn't achieve any weight differential, but the ergonomics would be better for me. The GFX 50S that I'm looking at, about the same size as my 6D really. There's just one dimension or so that I think is radically different. I think that's the width, but the weight is about the same. So, and the weight of the lenses as well, so that wouldn't be a huge issue. Fuji's APS-C system that I'm really interested in though does actually offer a significant weight reduction, which is awesome for me. But that's the draw for all this for me though, right? Like that's the draw. Better performance. What I see is better performance in smaller, more ergonomic bodies for me. So even if, like I literally do carry a camera everywhere with me, and so having a smaller camera is a big deal. Having smaller lens options, big deal. Having a 24 to 70 equivalent at 2.8 on that Fuji body that I can still carry everywhere with me, huge deal. But also the AF in the Sony and the Fuji options that I've looked at is way snappier than the AF in all of the Canons that I've tried, and I've owned several Canons for quite a long time with really good pro level lenses, good L series lenses, where the AF would be about as snappy as it gets out of Canon. However, the lens options that I'm looking at out of Sony and Fuji, oftentimes they'll have dual linear AF motors, and so from a lens perspective, the autofocus is just way faster. I recently had the opportunity to try out the A7R II and the A9 in a little camera store nearby to me, and I was just dumbfounded. And I don't think that it was necessarily the huge autofocus point spread in as much as it was the motors in the lens. Now, the spread helped actually know what should be in focus and stay locked on, but so fast. Now, as much as I hate focus by wire, I've never needed to actually manually focus my two E-mount lenses. I trust the AF in Sony cameras implicitly, just like I do out of Canon. But also EVF versus OVF. I see both sides of this argument. To kind of take a step back for a minute though, I so prefer the styling, the SLR styling of mirrorless bodies as opposed to rangefinder style bodies. But I also see both sides of being able to see exactly what the image will look like in the EVF, and also being able to see exactly what the real world looks like through the EVF. I prefer though the EVF. I prefer being able to see exactly what I'm gonna get, and I nearly exclusively use the EVF when I can on my 6300, and I fairly exclusively use my 6300 when I can. The other really big thing that I love out of the EVF is that you're getting basically a full frame sized OVF area filled by the EVF even in APS-C cameras, which is not something you can say for APS-C DSLRs. But also lens selection. I'm kind of at a point in my photography where I know exactly what I want and how I'll use it on a regular basis. I know I want fast zooms, f2.8. I know I want a couple of primes. I know that I'm willing to wait and save for these because that's what I want and how I want to shoot. Sony and Fuji offer these, and their offerings are damn fine. I approach the whole issue with several biases towards smaller bodies, towards really sharp, fast lenses, towards a lot of the features that mirrorless bodies provide. None of the draws of DSLRs are overly interesting to me, having shot on DSLRs for the better part of the last decade, both as a hobbyist and as a professional. dedicated AF points instead of a full sensor spread, OVF versus EVF. Like I said a minute ago, I'd rather see exactly what I'm getting. Needlessly large bodies instead of ones that fit my hands. But like I said before, I have no intention of selling off my Canon gear, except for one lens, basically. It occupies, my Canon gear occupies too big an emotional space for me to be willing to just let it go. Like I said before too, all of the pictures that I've taken, that I've printed and hung on my walls, are out of my Canon systems so far. My Canon film SLRs, be it my autofocus film SLRs as well as my AE1 program, both get a fair amount of use still. Well, the AE1 did until the battery died. I could see myself one day going back to Canon for fun, for nostalgia, for memories, but for now I think that mirrorless options are the way that I'd like to go down the line, because Canon isn't offering what I want, what I need now and for the foreseeable future. Mirrorless is. That doesn't make mirrorless objectively better, it just makes it right for me. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.